Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Napoli versus Barcelona match. Napoli will be hosting Barcelona in the first leg. This will be a two-legged match, and many of us do expect a very exciting game. Now, in the previous meetup that Napoli and Barcelona had, Barcelona won 4-2 at Napoli's home, and it was probably one of the best Barcelona games that we have seen under Xavi Hernandez. The only difference is that Barcelona and Napoli met for a Europa League match. It wasn't for a Champions League match, and at that time, we had a very different starting 11. We had goals coming from Jordi Alba, Frenkie, Piqué, and Aubameyang. So yes, it was around that time when we had a starting 11 that did not really have the biggest stars, but they were still very effective. We had a front three of Ferran Torres, Aubameyang, and Adama Traoré, with our midfield being Pedri, Busquets, and Frenkie, and then our back four was Dest, Araujo, Piqué, and Jordi Alba. Yes, I know, it's a very different starting 11 to the one that we see today. And it's crazy to see how far we have came, because Napoli, when they face us tomorrow, they're going to be seeing a very different 11, and they're only going to be seeing 4 players that they saw 2 years ago, which is Pedri, Frenkie, Araujo, and Ter Stegen. And so I do see a very motivated Barcelona, to be honest. This is going to be Xavi Hernandez's last season. I can see the players saying, hey look, this will be Xavi's last season with us. We're going to have to end on a high note with him, because Xavi has never seen the quarterfinals in Europe with Barcelona, and we have to take our own accountability and our own responsibilities and make sure we deliver and make sure we implement what Xavi Hernandez is saying. Xavi is counting on us. I can see these players having that type of attitude, and that is what I do want to see from the players. I want Barcelona to go up against Napoli and really beat down this team and make sure that we qualify for the next round and go into the quarterfinals. We want to win Napoli 3-0, 4-0 at their home and make sure that we completely dominate this game. Now, Napoli, on the other hand, they have just changed coaches. Like literally, they have just changed about 12 hours ago. They have a whole other different coach. We have no clue how Napoli is going to be approaching us too. So it's very bold of Napoli to be changing coaches 24 hours before one of the most important games. And to be honest, a change was needed for Napoli, because in their past 5 matches, they have only won once, losing 2 and tying the other 2 matches. And they are currently 9th in the league. And this was coming right after, from the previous season, they were in first place, beating Lazio, beating Inter Milan, and beating AC Milan to the Italian league title. So I know that Napoli is probably feeling so frustrated because of how much they have fell down, worse than Barcelona. Now, in the past 6 meetings that Barcelona had with Napoli, Barcelona have been unbeaten. They have beaten Napoli 4 times and tied against them 2 times. So we have all the right to feel confident that Barcelona can deliver. Xavi Hernandez has also said during the press conference, and I quote, "For us, this game means motivation and hope to advance to the quarterfinals. It is the ideal and perfect scenario to advance and have a great game. Napoli changed the coach 24 hours ago before the game in a surprising way. With the change of coach, we do not know very well what type of match they will bring to us, but they are the current champions of the Scudetto and they are a great rival. They do have top level players." And then he said, "We don't play to silence mouths. We play for the people who love the club. Tomorrow is a day to enjoy and above all to compete." And that is why I do say I expect a very strong and aggressive Barcelona, a Barcelona that do have a point to prove. We have not touched the quarterfinals since like 2020 or 2019. It has been such a long time, and what a beautiful way to like go back into the quarterfinals of the Champions League with Xavi Hernandez as our coach. Now, this wasn't even the biggest story of tonight. Like this whole pre-match preview between Napoli and Barcelona, this is not even the main thing that I even want to talk about for today. I want to talk about Frenkie De Jong and how he did assess the journalist from Mundo Deportivo. Frenkie had one of the best press conferences that we have seen in so long. Now, let me paint you guys like this narrative that the journalists have been painting against Frenkie. So many have been saying that Frenkie De Jong's contract has been a poison to Barcelona, that the reason why Barcelona have not been allowed to sign multiple players is because Frenkie De Jong takes the majority of the salary bill and how much he does get paid. And many other journalists have been adding more heat to this fire by saying, yes, it's true that Barcelona have to pay Frenkie De Jong so much and he does not even deliver. He never gives out man of the matches performances at all. Like they pay him 33 million euros a year only for Frenkie to under-deliver in every match. This has been the whole story coming from the journalist, and in the end just saying that Frenkie himself is destroying Barcelona. And it's crazy to hear that, right? Because we have discussed that in a way the media is trying to take down one of the captains of Barcelona, because Frenkie is one of the captains. We were also discussing, if this is true, how can we move forward? How can Barcelona readjust themselves? Should we maintain Frenkie De Jong and sign another new pivot if Barcelona can afford it? Or should we sell the player to bring in brand new players to have a much more balanced Barcelona? It's just crazy how like in the end, Frenkie De Jong is being attacked so much. But you and me know why. Frenkie De Jong in a way has been failing at Barcelona in the past 2 years. It is because the sporting project has been failing Frenkie De Jong. It wasn't Frenkie De Jong failing himself. It was the sporting project. We have failed to sign a new pivot, a pivot that can take over the position of Sergio Busquets. We assumed going into this season that Frenkie De Jong could take on the responsibility to be a lone pivot, to be the one that can take on the defensive responsibilities, but he's not that type of player. The sporting department should have known this from the very beginning. They should have been prepared for the exit of Busquets to continue to complement Frenkie De Jong in the future, because Frenkie is a player that's supposed to be accompanied by a pivot right next to him, so Frenkie can take on the ball, go on into the attack, and put out what he needs to put out, because he can do that. He has the capability. So this is what Frenkie had to say in the press conference, and I quote, "There is a lot of fake news on the press. Some of you should feel ashamed. This has to stop. People invented numbers of my salary. I'm very happy at Barcelona. I hope to stay here for many more years." Then they asked him, "So none of the numbers in your contract is true?" And this is what Frenkie said, "You were talking a lot about my contract, my situation in the team, and my salary. A lot of smoke, a lot of lies. Reports on the 40 million euro a year salary is very far from what I actually do earn." And then Ferran Martinez, a source that we always mention on this YouTube channel, who is also a journalist from Mundo Deportivo, asked Frenkie, "You received a renewal offer from Barcelona. What do you think about that offer?" Because again, this is the exact same journalist that did report that Frenkie received a renewal offer back in October 2023. And this is what Frenkie said, "Those are lies. You write a lot about me, don't you? In Mundo Deportivo, like other outlets, you write things that are lies. Why do you do that? Why do you make things up?" And boom, isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy how Frenkie De Jong just flat out called everything lies and assessed the whole media, saying that you guys put out lies and that all of these things is not true. And to be honest, this is probably the best thing Frenkie could have done before a very important game, because what this is going to do is light Barcelona on a positive fire, to place them on top of their toes and to show to the world that they are more united than ever. Because with this whole story about Frenkie getting 33 million euros a year, having Barcelona paying this type of wage, not allowing them to sign new players, it did in a way show that Barcelona were divided, that they were going through a bunch of stress, that Barcelona could not do anything because Frenkie was just so money hungry. But all of that is lies, and that every player in this club do see each other equally. It's almost as if like these media pages from Mundo or from Sport or from whoever were probably getting paid by Manchester United or maybe even Bayern or maybe even PSG or Chelsea, teams who wanted Frenkie De Jong and wanted to split Barcelona apart and take away Frenkie from the club. So I do think, based off what Frenkie has said here, it does assure his continuity. Now it's just a matter of what can Barcelona do in the summer and how can they complement Frenkie in the best way to get the best out of the player. And the only two players that I can think of should either be Rodri from Manchester City or Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. And so here is going to be my predicted starting 11 for the match against Napoli. I do see Ter Stegen in goal, Koundé, Araujo, Inigo Martinez, and Cancelo forming the back four, with our double pivot being Andreas Christensen and Frenkie De Jong. Like I have said and we have discussed, Frenkie De Jong needs to be with a defensive pivot. Andreas Christensen can't play in that position and gives us much more coverage, with our number 10, our central midfielder, being Gundogan, a player that always comes out in very important moments, that can bring actual numbers, goals, and assists. And then our front three being Rafinha on the right wing, Lewandowski as the striker, and Vitor Roque on the left wing. I placed Rafinha on for Lamine Yamal because I think that Yamal does need some rest. He does not need to be fully rested. Rafinha can play there until like the 65th minute and then have Lamine Yamal come in as a super sub and an impactful sub. Then as for Vitor Roque, I placed him there because we don't really have any other player. Yes, I know that there is a chance that Joao Felix could be here, but I think that Vitor Roque does need more minutes. We should continue to rely on him and not try to reduce his minutes just because Vitor did not have his best game in the previous one. I think that Vitor needs to continue to be put on the pitch to eventually get the goals in, which is something that he does need in order for him to gain the confidence. And so that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.